So let's continue on with the Gemara. Hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem, if we are able today, what I'd like to do, we can finish inside the first Sugya of the Gemara, which is dealing with two halachot. The first halakha it's dealing with is the beginning of the Zman of Kriyat Shema. And the second halakha the Sugya is dealing with is the end Zman of Kriyat Shema, which is what the Mishnah dealt with, but we'll look at the Gemara. So if you go into the Gemara where it says B'ma'arava, that's what we're up to, B'ma'arava, in the west. If you're looking, Amud Bet, yeah, Daf Bet Amud Bet. I would suggest, however, for the purposes of today, try not to look at the art scroll, English, okay? And because the art scroll is very much connected to what Rashi said, I think Rashi's opinion, in my opinion here, is a little confusing to the flow of the Gemara. We'll come back and explain what Rashi is saying. B'ma'arava, in the west, where is the west? That's in Eretz Yisrael, right? Because remember, Babylon is east of Eretz Yisrael. So B'ma'arava is in the west. Had Rabba barav Shela la shemi'alehu. This idea that we said previously from Rav Shela, from Rabba Shela, was not heard. They didn't hear this. Remember, there were rabbis who would go back and forth between Babylon and between Israel to bring teachings of each Talmudic academy across the divide. There was no internet, email, and things like that. So certain teachings they didn't hear, so they had to basically have a different teaching. And they raised the problem. Ha Ubah Shemesh, when it says Ubah Shemesh, Biat Shimshohu, which basically means, what is Biat Hashemesh? Which means when the sun sets. Umay vitaher. What is the word vitaher? What is that adding? Tahar Yoma. Now remember, in Ma'arava, in Babylon, they used the word vitaher. They used a statement in Aramaic to basically explain, an idiom to explain vitaher means in the day past. I'm not sure they would use that same idiom in the land of Israel because, if I'm not mistaken, the Aramaic in the land of Israel was different somewhat. It was a different dialect than the Aramaic that was in Bavel. So it says here, Mai v'taher, tahar yoma, meaning the day past. O dilma, or do you want to say, bi'at orohu? What is bi'at oro? When the light is finished, okay? Rashi explains Biat Oro as the sunrise, but that's very, very confusing. So Biat Oro, according to the other Rishonim, is, we understand that there's the Biat Shemesh, which is when the sun sets, but even when the sun is below the horizon, one still sees the light from the sun still in the world. It's only after a period of time when the sun has gone much further below the horizon that the actual light from the sun is gone. So Biat Shemesh is the sun goes below the horizon. Biat Oro is when the light, the rays of light from the sun are no longer visible, which is a time that is after the actual sunset, obviously depending on where you are in the world. They didn't say that, but this is what the Gemara is trying to learn from this Braita, okay? Umay v'taher, so what does it mean v'taher? Tahar gavra. Maybe you want to say the gavra, the person is purified by what? By when the light of the sun is no longer visible. So this is the question that they had, and they didn't understand, so what they say? V'hadar pishatula mi baraita. They basically resolved this contradiction from the Braita. They're trying to figure out at what point is the gavra, which is basically the person allowed to eat from the terumah. Is it at sunset, or is it a time later than sunset? So they learned the pshat from its Braita. What's the Braita? Midikatene beBraita. It's taught in the Braita. Siman ladavar tzeta kochavim. The Braita says the sign for it is the stars coming out. Shema mina, from here we learn, biat shimshohu, which means it has to do with the sunset, the complete sunset. Umay v'taher, what is v'taher? Tehar Yoma, which means the day passed. So when it's since Zeta Kochavim, it's clearly the time when the sun is set to such a level that the light is no longer visible. So therefore that is Vitaher. Vitaher means the day cleared away, which means the day is finished, and now it is the sun, now is the stars coming out. Amar more in our Mishnah. This is what the Mishnah said in the time the Kohanim go in to eat their terumah. Urminhu, they bring another teaching to disagree with this teaching of the same level. At what point do they read the Kriyat Shema in Aravin? When a poor person goes into the house to eat his bread with salt. Why bread and salt? Because that's all the poor person has. He doesn't have anything else to put on his bread except for salt. So here, from this Braita, we're learning what? That the Zman of Kriyat Shema begins when the Ani goes in to eat his bread with salt. And at what point is the Zman of Kriyat Shema finished? When he finishes his Seudah. That's a very short period of time. That is correct. Which, according to our understanding, what is the most stringent opinion regarding the finishing of Kriyat Shema? Rabbi Eliezer, who said when it finishes the first watch, which is the first third of the night. It doesn't take a person 2 or 3 hours to eat Seudat Erev. Certainly not an Ani. Maybe if he's Ashir Gadol, he's going to have a big meal. Ani, Pat B'melach, doesn't take 2 or 3 hours. The first can finish, a piece of pita or 2 pita if he wants to have in 15 minutes, 20 minutes? So where is this long period of time? It appears that Zman Kriyat Shema, according to this Braita, is the end time is much earlier than what we learned in our Mishnah, even the most stringent opinion. Right. They bring a Braita, which is basically a Mishnaic weight, which is a Tana, basically saying this. From the time the Ani comes in to eat his bread with salt, okay, that fits with Kohanim Nichnasim Lecho B'Trumatan. That I can say is the same time. But certainly the time of Rabbi Eliezer, who says the end of the first watch, this is much earlier. Yeah. So why did Rabbi Yehuda leave? Why is this not the possibility? Which means Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi did not include this in the Mishnah. But why is this not the halakha? We clearly understand that the Reisha, which means the beginning of this Braita, is not disagreeing with our Mishnah. We can learn them together. Remember, the goal of the Talmud is always, when you have 2 different opinions, to minimize the machloket. If you can learn it in a way that causes there to be a minimization of the machloket, that's the way to learn it. So since it's highly likely that the time the Kohanim go in to eat their truma is the same time that the Ani goes in to eat his bread with salt, so therefore what? We can say that that's the same time, but there's no way to say that about the Seifa of the Mishnah. The Seifa of the Braita is of course disagreeing with our Mishnah. Reisha milema pligi amat nitim. Maybe you want to say the Reisha also disagrees. So we said the Seifa clearly disagrees, but maybe you want to say the beginning part of the Braita over here also disagrees. Maybe the time the Kohanim go eat the Truma is not the same as the time the Ani goes in to eat his bread. No. Ani v'chohen had shi'urahu. So basically the conclusion here of the Talmud is what? That the Ani going in to eat his bread is the same time as the Kohen going to eat his teruma. Now we still have a problem with the Reish, with the Seifa. Urminhu. The Gemara brings a contradiction from a Tosefta. Tosefta is also a Mishnaic source. What point do we begin to read Kriyat Shema at night? Misha'a shebnei adam nichnasim le'echol pitan be'arvei Shabbatot. In the time when people go eat the bread, when? Shabbat. Erev Shabbat. Now this is potentially different. Right. Why?
By the time they come from shul, right?
You're not thinking about it the right way.
No.
You're thinking about it nowadays. What did we say before? Remember we discussed the Rashi and Tosafot? What did we say? That people used to bring in Shabbat earlier. Much earlier.
It was very dark.
Right.
So they were walking home.
Was still light?
It was still light outside. Which means, remember, they brought a Yerushalmi, if I'm not mistaken, to show what? That people would finish their Seudah and it would still be light outside.
Oh, because they had no light at home.
Okay, so it's interesting enough, if you, just to diverge for 1 second, the Aruch HaShulchan, Rav Michael Epstein. What he did is he became the rabbi in the town. And what he noticed is people coming to shul on time. If the religious people are coming to shul on time, what about the people that are not so stark? They're clearly Mahalel Shabbat. So what did he do? The first Shabbat he was there, he basically made an announcement before Shabbat that we're going to start prayers 2 hours early. Instead of Minha being at a little bit before sunset, 15, 20 minutes, he announced that Minha would be 2 hours before sunset. And what happened? The first Shabbat he shows up.
Nobody's there.
Nobody's there. Nobody's there. So what he did is he grabbed a couple of younger kids who must have been around, bar mitzvah. He prayed Arabit, he prayed Minha Arabit, and went home. And it says he's walking home, and they're first coming to shul. Here's the brand new rabbi. And he says Shabbat Shalom to them as he's walking home.
That was good.
So that was the first. Oh no, we're not done. Just to show you the power of the Chachamim. So the next Shabbat, what did he do? He did the same thing again. He announced we're going to pray 2 hours before, and once again, what happened? Same thing happened. So this time, what did he do? He got the kids together. He prayed Minha and Arabit, and then he stayed in shul. And as all the people came, he said, this is my house. I will decide when we start the tefillah. There is no other minyan going to be in this shul. And basically, he forced everybody to pray Yachid.
Wow.
But he also prayed Yachid.
And from the next, he prayed with he brought the kids. No.
Kids? Oh,
Yeah. So the next Shabbat, everybody showed up 2 hours early. So he writes about this because he said that this is a situation. If the people who are religious are coming to shul right before Shabbat, then what about the people who are not? So where does he get this from? So as I'm learning this, I'm thinking about the Aruch HaShulchan. Clearly, this is day where there was a concept of praying much earlier on Friday afternoon. So not just because of the darkness, and he makes an argument. He says over there, by Pesach, when we have a mitzvah that we're not allowed to have hametz, which is a lav that starts in Hatzot, what do the rabbis do? They forced everybody 2 hours before that they can't eat because of a cloudy day. Yom Me'unan, you don't know when Hatzot is. This is a mitzvah that doesn't have with it karet or skila. The rabbis were machmir and boy, we're not going to do the same thing for Shabbat. Shabbat is more chamor. And this is his logic for making it 2 hours earlier.
Which mitzvah doesn't have karet or skila?
Eating chametz.
Not eating chametz. Eating chametz after Chatzot. Yes. On Pesach, it's karet. But before Pesach, from Chatzot until sunset, it's a lav. It's not a...
Chatzot, so from Chatzot, it's a lav because it's not rabbinic from Chatzot.
It's forbidden from the Torah.
From the Torah, it's forbidden. Okay.
Ach bayom harishon, right? Ach comes to ma'et, so half. So the first half of the day, the first half you're allowed to have chametz. The second half of the day you're not allowed to have chametz. From sunset, v'nichreta nefesh shahi. From sunset, chametz causes there to be karet. But from midday up until sunset, the lav, it's a lav. It's not a karet. Because remember we told there's a whole discussion in the Talmud regarding plaga mincha, and how do you do both? How do you say I'm going to pray early mincha? The bigger problem is praying. What time do you start mincha? Because if you're going to hold by Rabbi Yehuda, which says that plaga mincha is the end of the zman of mincha, so technically you should pray mincha before plaga mincha, and then you could pray arbit afterwards with no problem. The issue there is what happens if you pray mincha after plaga mincha, and then you pray arbit before sunset. That's a problem, because then you're holding on one hand situation like Rabbi Yehuda, and the other hand you're holding on to Chachamim.
Yeah.
At what point do we begin to read Kriyat Shema Arbit? Which presumably would be an earlier time than the ani going in to eat his pat, or the Kohen going into his terumah. Why? Because Erev Shabbat they would pray early. The Kohen is not allowed to eat the terumah before sunset. Everybody holds that way. The ani is not going to, on a regular working day, leave work 2 hours early when there's still sun, because why? He's ani. He's got to work every minute that he can in order to earn a living. So he's not going to leave early. So clearly this here, the time is different. Divrei Rabbi Meir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim teach us from the time that the priests are eligible to eat the truma. Siman ladavar. What's a siman for the davar? How do we understand this? Tzeta kochavim. This is the time. Tzeta kochavim, which means the Chachamim say, what is the siman? Tzeta kochavim. So now we have a Mishnaic source that says that the time they eat is Tzeta Kochavim, which is in agreement, which even though our Mishnah doesn't mention Tzeta Kochavim, here it makes a connection between what? When the Kohanim go in to eat the teruma and Tzeta Kochavim. The Afapish and the Ayala Davar, even though there's no real proof of what we're saying in the Tanakh, Zecher Davar. We can bring a pasuk that sort of hints to the fact that the day ends at Tzeta Kochavim, where Shene'emar, they bring a pasuk, V'anachnu osim ba'melacha v'chetziam machazikim beremachim me'alot ha'shacha v'Tzeta Kochavim. This is a pasuk from Nehemiah, and it says, and we perform the work, and half of them grasp their spears from dawn until the emergence of the stars. So we see what? There's an idea that what? There's a concept of from Alot HaShachar until Tzeta Kochavim. Ve'omer, Ve'hayu lanu halayla mishemor ve'hayom melacha. And the next pasuk, not the next pasuk, but 2 pasukim later, it says, and that in the night may be a guard to us and may labor in the day. So we see clearly what? When does a person works in the day. What is the day? From Alot HaShachar until Tzeta Kochavim. When is the Shmirah, which means when is the person not working? From Tzeta Kochavim until Alot HaShachar. So now the Gemara asks question. Mai ve'omer. What do we need the extra part that they brought? They brought 2 pesukim. The first pasuk says, Me'alot HaShachar at Tzeta Kochavim. Why do we need the ve'omer? Why do we need that second part to tell us Laila and Yom? V'chitema. The Gemara is going to say the first pasuk is not enough. Why? Miki arva shimsha le'Eliyahu. Because you're going to say that the night begins with sunset. But the workers just stayed late, which means it's an option. Just because the sun sets doesn't mean you have to stop working. At what point does a person have to stop working? When he can't see what he's doing anymore. When the sun sets, there's still light coming from the sun. So from the first pasuk, you would not necessarily have learned from the first that's the end of the day, because it's possible, no, the day ends at sunset, but why are the people still working? They're still working because there's still light, which means they're doing extra. But the day actually ends at sunset. So that explains why you need, yes? Okay, so that explains why you need the second part. These people come early and leave late. Tashima, from here we learn. So from here we learn we need the second part to tell us what? That no, it's not that people are staying late. This is the beginning of the day and this is the end of the day. Now it's going back to the beginning, what we talked before. How do we know that the Ani and the Bnei Adam? Because what did this one brought up? What? It says Bnei Adam nichnasin lecho pitan. Right? Maybe you want to say that what? That the Ani and the people is the same time. We are understanding it's not, because Erev Shabbat people would have gone home early to bring Shabbat early. Who says that? Vi amrat ani v'kohen hachirahu. Maybe you want to say what? That the Ani and the Kohen is the same time. Like we said before, Chachamim hainu Rabbi Meir. Then we're going to say that Chachamim is exactly what Rabbi Meir. What's the disagreement? What did Rabbi Meir say? Rabbi Meir said what? Misha shebnei adam nichnasim lecho pitam b'arvei Shabbatot. So maybe it's this. So where's the disagreement? V'chachamim omrim misha shekorim zakin lecho b'trumatan. So clearly the way it was brought in the Tosefta, there's a machloket between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim. So you can't say it's the same time, because otherwise there would be no machloket. And the way this is worded, there's a machloket.
What's the respective opinions of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Chachamim?
They're trying to figure that out. Rabbi Meir says when the person goes in to eat his bread on Erev Shabbat, the Chachamim omrim mishasha korim zakin lecho b'trumah. When the Kohanim go in to eat their trumah, why are you saying it's a different time? So because of the language, the way that it was brought in the Tosefta, there's clearly a disagreement. Otherwise, there's no disagreement. Elishmami now, from here we learn, Ani shi'ura lihud. The Rabbi Meir brings the Ani has his own shiur, and Kohen shi'ur achud, which means each one is a different time. La. No. Ani v'Kohen had shi'urahu. Ani v'Kohen is the same. The Ani u'bnei Adam lav had shi'urahu. But Ani and Bnei Adam are not the same shiur. Which one we said before, that the Ani and the Kohen, this is the same shiur. But the Adam that we brought here, which is basically Erev Shabbatot, is not the same shiur. It's earlier.
So Ani goes to eat the tzedakah chavim, according to this? Because
Yes. Ani is going to work as much as he can, as long as there is light outside.
Right.
It appeared from the Mishnah, from the first page,
When Kohanim
that
go to
Kohanim nechnasin le'echol b'trumatan, and it appeared that there was no discrepancy about that. The discrepancy we had was when is the end part of the Kriyat Shema. According to Rabbi Eliezer, it was the end of the first Shema. According to the Chachamim, it was until Chatzot. According to Rabban Gamliel, it was till Almod HaShachar. That was the Mishnah. Okay. Now they're bringing Tanaic sources to show that it's not so clear that the beginning time of Kriyat Shema is... So the Gemara up until this point has included what? That two of the Tanaic sources are saying the same thing. There's one that's saying something else,
which is Ani.
which is the Adam Erev Shabbat.
Adam Erev Shabbat.
You see, again, it's not Dafka Ani or Adam. This is the language of the use. So they say the Ani is this one source, the Kohanim is another source, and now the Adam, which is of course is talking about Erev Shabbat. That's what it said. Erev Shabbat. Adam nichnas beto Erev Sharvei Shabbatot. So now there's three. So the Gemara is concluded to this point that the first two, the Kohanim and the Ani, is the same time. The Erev Shabbat is clearly not the same time. No. It's basically, when it says the Ani, it didn't say Davka Erev Shabbat. Of course, the Ani is not Mehalel Shabbat.
Right.
So it's not what it's talking about. We're saying here that here it's specified Adam Erev Shabbat because it wants to let us know that this is an earlier time. Whereas the Ani is going to work as long as he can, assuming he's got enough light and it's not Shabbat. We're not talking about Ani that's Mehalel Shabbat. Okay? And if you think about how the first Mishnah of Shabbat, or Masechet Shabbat opens up, how does it open up? It talks about the Ani. He puts his hand in to get money. This is someone who's Shomer Shabbat. So the concept, why would Ani be Mehalel Shabbat? In fact, logically you'd say the opposite. It's Ashir is much more likely to be Mehalel Shabbat than Ani. Ani knows if he does not Shomer Shabbat, he's not going to have Berakhot in anything he does, and he needs as much Berakhot as he can get. Ashir, Ya'ani Azot. Ashir doesn't care Shabbat, not Shabbat, he's the God. Nothing matters to him. This is the that's the real test. Like we said in Seudah Shlishit yesterday. What is it? Vayishman Yishnu doesn't say about the Ani. The Ani is not the one who forgets about God. The Ani doesn't forget about God. How can the Ani forget about God? Ani forgets about God, he starves to death. Who forgets about God? The Ashir forgets about God. Vayishman Yishrun Vayivat Shamanta Avita Kasita Vayito Shelo Asa Vayidaber Tzuri Shvato. Right, or what we said from Birkat Hamazon, right? V'ram levadecha v'shachata. When does a person's heart go up? We read in our parasha yesterday. When you have nice houses, and you have keren, you have a kerem, you have a vineyard, and you have a fruit, and you eat, and you're filling up, and then v'shachata Hashem Elokecha she'otziacha me'eretz Yitzrayim. Okay, so Ani is definitely not someone who generally forgets about God. So up until this point, we've said what? That the two opinions are the same. The Ani and the Kohen is the same time, which is Tzeta Kochavim. And clearly, the Adam is earlier than Tzeta Kochavim. It's presumably even earlier than sunset.
So we're talking about now.
What is the beginning time of Kriyat Shema? So now the Gemara is analyzing through other Tanaic sources. What is the beginning time? Remember, why did the Gemara start analyzing the end time?
The beginning required or the beginning?
The Mishnah started off by talking about the Zman of Kriyat Shema in the beginning, earliest time, and then the latest time. The Machloket in the Mishnah was not when Kriyat Shema starts. The Machloket in the Mishnah was when Kriyat Shema finishes. So the Gemara begins to analyze the Machloket in the Mishnah first. and basically says, how do we understand this? When the end time of Kiryat Shema is Chachamim and Rabban Gamliel, what's the difference? How do we understand that? And now the Gemara is going to basically learning out what? But wait a minute, we have also some different opinions regarding, apparent different opinions regarding what time Kiryat Shema you start. So now the last question, Ve'ani ve'kohen had shiurahu, are you going to say that you're basically concluded to this point that the ani and the kohen is one shiur, it's one time? Urminhu, it brings another contradiction. Brings a contradiction from another braita. Listen, there's a reason why Rabbi Yehuda, some of these braitas, it's not that he didn't know them. You know, the Mishnah would have been 10 times bigger.
What kind of brain did a person need to have back then to know?
The biggest brain is the Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi to know what to include and what not.
Well, now
It's
we
amazing.
only use 5 or 6% of our brain.
The Ani the Kohen had shiurahu. Are you going to say that the Ani and Kohen is one shiur? Or minu? It brings a contradiction from another braita. From what time do we begin to read Kriyat Shema at night? From the time what? When the day becomes sanctified on the evening of Shabbat. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. This is the words of Rabbi Eliezer. What?
It's very vague.
It is vague. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, Misha she'akohanim mitoharim le'echol b'trumatan. From the time that the Kohanim are purified where they can eat the terumah.
Which is after Shkia.
Which is going to be Tzeta Kochavim again. Let's see. Rabbi Yeshua said,
Said that when the
priests are eligible to take their terumah. It's not giving you time. It's saying when they're able to eat from the terumah.
which is when the sun goes down.
We don't know that.
It was said before.
He'eriv Shimsho. That's what it said. The sun goes down. It's Tzeta Kochavim. The Mishnah is Tzeta Kochavim. So maybe he's told that he's told when the sun goes down. Okay, maybe so. Yes. Rabbi Meir Omer, Misha she'akohanim tovlin lechol b'trumatan. From the time the Kohanim are tovlim lechol trumatan. When would that be? They immerse themselves before sunset.
Right.
Okay, so
But
Rabbi Meir would say the Zman of Kriyat Shema is before sunset. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Meir, well, wait a minute. When did the Kohanim do Tevilah? They do Tevilah in the daytime. So Rabbi Meir, are you saying that the Zman of Kriyat Shema begins before sunset? Rabbi Chanina Omer, Mish'a she'ani nichnas le'echol pito b'melach. Rabbi Chanina says, from the time the ani, the poor man, goes in to eat his bread with salt. Rabbi Achai says, V'amri la, Rabbi Acha Omer, and some said to me that Rabbi Acha says, Mish'a she'rov b'nei adam nichnasin lahasev. From the time that most people go in to eat. Okay, so we have to basically divide. There are 5 different opinions here. This is Rav Hai Gaon basically summarizes all the different opinions over here. The first one is Rabbi Eliezer. He says when the day becomes sanctified on the eve of Shabbat, which means the night begins with sunset, which means the sun sets, Uba HaShemesh is sunset. At what point does the day end? Sunset. That is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yoshua, and that's when is Kidesh Hayom. When is Shabbat? You can bring Shabbat whenever you want, within a reasonable amount of time. But there's a certain time when Shabbat comes in that you have no choice. When is that? Sunset. That's Shabbat. Whether you're ready, not ready, makes no difference, right? If a person is walking on the way and the sun sets, that's it. That's where he's spending Shabbat. Kidesh Hayom, which means not when you choose to bring in Shabbat, but when God chooses to bring in Shabbat. And when does Hashem choose to bring in Shabbat? Sunset. So Rabbi Eliezer is saying what? That the day ends at sunset, and that's when the night begins. Rabbi Yoshua says, from the time when the Kohanim are eligible to eat the terumah, which means that the night begins when you see the stars. The sunset refers to the end of sunset, which means sunset is not an instantaneous process. Sunset is a period of time, which begins when the sun goes below the horizon and ends when the stars come out. Rabbi Yoshua is saying what? The verse Uba HaShemesh was referring to the end of the sunset, which includes the Ben Hashmashot business, which they're not bringing up here. Rabbi Meir, from when the Kohanim go in to do the Tevilah in order to eat the Truma. Basically, remember the Gemara said, well, you're going to say Rabbi Meir is really a different time, and you're saying it's before? No, so Rabbi Meir agrees with Rabbi Yoshua. They're talking about the same time. When are the Kohanim able to eat the Terumah? When the sun sets completely, which is really Tzet HaKochavim. That's the opinion. So Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Meir agree with each other. Rabbi Chanina, when the poor person enters to eat his bread with salt, he makes no connection between sunset and Kriyat Shema. Kriyat Shema has nothing to do with sunset. The time of Kriyat Shema is when? Beshoch Becha. When is Beshoch Becha?
When you go to sleep.
When a person goes to lay down. And basically it's depending on what people do. When the people go to sleep, that's the Zman of Kriyat Shema. That's Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Acha, when most people go to sleep. He agrees with Rabbi Chanina that what? That has nothing to do with sunset. But he argues that the determination is not made on you as an individual when you go to sleep. The determination is made when majority of people go to sleep. The Amrat Ani v'Kohen had shiurahu. If you're going to say that Ani and the Kohen is one shiur, Rabbi Chanina hainu Rabbi Yoshua. Remember we said in the beginning over here that you're saying that Ani, the Gemara is asking you a question. You're saying that Ani and the Kohen is the same shiur. But we just brought ourselves a Braita over here that has a 5-way machloket. And that 5-way machloket has these two people disagreeing with each other regarding the Ani and the Kohen. So how can you say it's the same opinion? Ela lav shma mina. No, this is how we understand it. Shiura de Ani lichud. The shiura of the Ani is separate. The shiura de Kohen lachud. They're two separate shiurim. Shma mina. This is what we learned from this, the two shiurim. So we see that the time for the poor person to eat and the time for the Kohen to go in and eat is different. So now the Gemara wants to say, okay, if it's different, which one is later? Hey, minahu meuchar. Which one is a later time?
Kohen is the later time.
We'll see. Mistabra, it would be logical to say, what? De'ani meuchar. That the poor person is later. Di amrat ani mukdam. If you're going to say that the poor person is earlier, Rabbi Chanina hainu Rabbi Eliezer. Then Rabbi Chanina is agreeing with Rabbi Eliezer. What did Rabbi Eliezer say? That it begins when the sun sets, when there's still light, which means it's not the stars coming out. So then you're going to say then there's another problem. And then Rabbi Chanina is agreeing with Rabbi Eliezer, and therefore there's no 5-way machloket according to the same problem. Ela lav shmamina, the ani meuchar shmamina. So for here we see the ani is actually later than the time the Kohanim nichnasin lecho b'trumatan. Amar Mor, a master said, Amar le Rabbi Yehuda. We learned in a Braita that Rabbi Yehuda said, V'alo Kohanim me'bod yom hem tovlim. Isn't it true that Kohanim go to do the Tevilah in the daytime? So how can it be that there's an opinion that said, Rabbi Meir, what was his opinion? When the priests make Tevilah. Well, how can it be when the priests make Tevilah? When they make Tevilah in the daytime? Shapir Kamar le. You said correctly. Rabbi Yehuda le Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda, that's a good question. Rabbi Meir's response is connected to the fundamental dispute over when night begins. So now we're going to get to this machloket about when night begins. After sunset, a period begins which is neither day nor night. The Tanaim disagree over the precise duration of this period known as Ben Hashmashot. Rabbi Yehuda holds that twilight extends a full hour after sunset. Rabbi Nehemiah agrees in principle, though he disagrees over the specifics. Rabbi Yosef maintains that twilight is very brief and occurs immediately before the emergence of the stars, which marks the beginning of the night. Regarding Rabbi Meir's argument, Rabbi Yehuda asked that since the priests immerse themselves before twilight, they have a long wait until nightfall. Clearly, their immersion takes place while it is still day. But Rabbi Meir, Hachi Kamarle, this is what you say to Rabbi Meir. Mi savrat adana de ben hashmoshot didach ka'amina. Gemara is answering Rabbi Meir to Rabbi Yehuda as follows. Do you think I'm talking about your definition of ben hashmashot? Ana ben hashmashot Rabbi Yosef ka'amina. I hold like Rabbi Yosef with ben hashmashot. Damar Rabbi Yosef, what did Rabbi Yosef say? Ben hashmashot keheref ayin. Ben hashmashot is instantaneous. which means it's a very quick time. And when does it happen? Right before nightfall, which basically means that up until the light of the sun is no longer visible, it is still day. Ze nichnas v'ze yotzeh. Which means that the day doesn't end at sunset. The day continues on until a very short time before the stars come out. That's Ben Hashmashot, which is instantaneous. And then there's nightfall.
So
Here, what are we saying? The Kohanim nichnasin, right? What did Rabbi Meir say? Rabbi Meir said when the Kohanim do the Tevilah. The Gemara asks a question. Well, wait, how can it be? The Tevilah has to be in the daytime. And Rabbi Meir basically says, well, the Gemara is saying, who says he holds like you do about the Ben Hashmashot? That there's a long time the day continues on even after sunset. That's still day, which means the Kohen can still do Tevilah after sunset, according to Rabbi Meir. Because Ben Hashmashot is this instantaneous time right before the stars come out, but the day continues on. The Safek Yom Safek Laila is Ben Hashmashot. Which means Rabbi Meir is holding it's Vadai Yom after sunset. When is it no longer Yom? When is it Safek Yom? When the light rays of the sun disappear completely. Then Ben Hashmashot is instantaneous, and then comes night. Okay, so let's repeat that. Rabbi Meir, Dehachi Kamale, what's Rabbi Meir going to say? Mi savrat ana ben shmashot idaka amina. Who says that I agree with you about when you say Ben Hashmashot, Rabbi Yehuda? Ana ben hashmashot Rabbi Yosef kamina. I hold like Rabbi Yosef. Damar Rabbi Yosef held ben hashmashot keref ayin. Ben hashmashot is instantaneous, which means it's a very, very short amount of time. Zeh nichnas v'zeh yotzeh, which basically means that the day continues on up until the light disappears from the sun. Then there's ben hashmashot, which is an instantaneous time, and then is nightfall. V'ef shala amod alav, and a person can't sit. So the previous Braita basically said Rabbi Meir's opinion, going to the beginning of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. The previous Braita said that Rabbi Meir's opinion that the time for the reciting the Kriyat Shema was when the priests go to do the Tevilah before eating the Terumah. In the Tosefta previously was taught that Rabbi Meir holds that one begins to recite the Kriyat Shema when people eat their meal on Shabbat Eve. What's the problem? Those times are clearly different. Kasha Rabbi Meir ad Rabbi Meir. We have two different, we have a Tosefta, we have a Braita, where Rabbi Meir appears to be saying two different things. My answer is, today, Tana'e Ali Bar Rabbi Meir, it's not Rabbi Meir saying two different things. He's not a schizophrenic, God forbid. It's two different Tanaim quoting Rabbi Meir, and the two different Tanaim had different opinion Rabbi Meir said. Which means we don't know Rabbi Meir's opinion. We only know what the two Tanaim say that the Rabbi Meir said.
But it wasn't Rabbi Meir Tanai himself?
Yes, but someone else is quoting him. Means he can't. Rabbi Meir can't be holding two different opinions himself.
Right.
I mean, he could hold at one point and then later on change his mind. But that's not what the Gemara is assuming. The Gemara is saying, no, there was two different Tanaim that are saying it in the name of Rabbi Meir. Now that says, Kasha Rabbi Eliezer, Ad Rabbi Eliezer. Now brings another problem. We have the two Braitas, also the Braita and the Tosefta regarding Rabbi Eliezer. The opinion of Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah basically says that what? It agrees with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer in the Braita. In the Mishnah, what did Rabbi Eliezer hold? The beginning time of Kriyat Shema is Tzeta Kochavim. He didn't disagree with the Tanakama, correct? Only thing Rabbi Eliezer disagreed with is when Kriyat Shema ends. Rabbi Eliezer didn't disagree when Kriyat Shema begins, so therefore it's assumed that he agrees with the Tana that the beginning of Kriyat Shema is Tzeta Kochavim. But we have another place where he says the beginning of Kriyat Shema is when? As soon as the sun sets. Well, that's not the same time. Now it's a question Rabbi Eliezer on Rabbi Eliezer. So what's the answer to the Gemara? The same thing they did for Rabbi Meir. Today, Tana'e Aliba de Rabbi Eliezer, we have two Tanaim that are basically saying the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer had an opinion, but the two Tanaim disagree what his opinion is. And also some will say, Resha lav Rabbi Eliezer, but maybe you want to say no, there's another answer, that Rabbi Eliezer doesn't agree with the Tana. He doesn't agree with the Tanakama. It's just, that's not his opinion. His opinion was what he said. Which means even though he didn't agree with the Tanakama, it appears on the outside, who says? He just, the Rabbi Yehuda Nasi didn't include Rabbi Eliezer's opinion with regarding his disagreement with the Tanakama. That's the two ways they resolve the question of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Eliezer. Baruch Adonai l'olam, amen v'amen.